Okay, it says we're live. I'm Michael Martinez with SEO Theory and Reflective Dynamics Incorporated. Um, Chatting here with Kent Yunk of Roaring Pajamas. We're trying to get back on track with our weekly, semi-weekly, semi-monthly, bipartisan SEO chat on the SEO Theory YouTube channel. So, hello, Kent.
Hello, Michael.
Let me start the clock here. We're also trying to keep these to about 30 minutes because we know how long videos really don't attract big audiences. All right, so Kent, did you have a good holiday?
I had a great holiday. You, Michael?
I had a good holiday. We had family and friends and cheer, and I didn't get deathly ill this year.
That's good news, right?
That's great news. I was actually able to work a little bit. So I don't really have much to talk about, but you wanted to bring up a couple of topics, so I guess we'll dive right into it.
Yeah, I thought
I look really scraggly, you know. I really do. I was out running around. I didn't have time to prepare for this. So,
well, we'll leave the primping till later. I'm equally scruffy, but so what I wanted to talk about, since it's our first video chat for the year, I thought maybe we would sort of go back to basics and talk about how, as SEOs, we work with clients, and we really start our projects by looking at, telling the client, look, here are the key components that we look at as SEOs and the things that are most important to us. Excuse me. And those break down into sort of a three-legged stool. Three-legged stool is
photobomb. Hi.
Hi, Melanie. That was Melanie Young, president of Roaring Pajamas. SEO.
Yes, indeed. So we break it down into sort of a three-legged stool, right? We want to make sure that sites are crawlable, accessible by search engines, that the things that they need to do to access a site, to index a site, those things are available to the search engines. So that's part of a key component, and surprisingly, it's really striking in some cases. Even big brands with big web teams will overlook very, very basic crawlability configuration, so that sites can actually get indexed properly without causing too much harm to the search experience and to the number of pages that actually are indexed. The second piece is the piece that sort of everybody normally talks about, which is the on-page stuff, right? What's actually happening with the metadata, what's happening with the content on the page, what keywords are being targeted by that page, how does the content flow, all of the things that sort of people think about when they think about SEO really relates more to the on-page piece, because that's the stuff that they see and the stuff that the crawlers obviously are keying off of. And then the last piece is really sort of what happens off-site, right? What is the inbound links pointing to a site that create a sense of authority in the mind, or certainly from a algorithmic standpoint, from the perspective of the search engines. What are the inbound links? How valuable are those? And being able to sort of look at those, understand their value, and be able to access or create new links, access other sites that can generate that inbound linking. And as a smaller component of that, certainly the internal linking of a site, to make sure that those pages are referencing one another in a logical and meaningful way. And what I was hoping to do is sort of talk and discuss with you, Michael, about some of the issues that have come up over the last year, and why it's important, on a yearly basis, for clients to really take a good look, sort of do a standard audit of their site every year, and to look at the components of their site, both on the site as a function of the infrastructure and construction of the site, as well as the content, and then of course looking at the sites that are pointing to them to make sure that, number one, they're valuable, and that they're adding to the authority and reputation of the site and not taking away from that. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It's a lot for 25 minutes of discussion.
Sure. And I think I don't want to boil the ocean, but I think that it's good to sort of I think I'm curious, what is your perspective on that? I certainly run into situations where we'll dial in a site, we'll get it all optimized, there'll be the proper configuration on the pages, the site will be all dialed in, and 2 months later we go in and we look at the site and boom, the SEO is missing, the redirects are all messed up. It's the most bizarre thing, and we're like, did somebody decide that it was okay to just go in and make major modifications to the configuration of a website? And so we run into that, and I think it's important for clients to sort of pay attention to, and not think that it's a set it and forget it system.
Well, when we take on a client, we normally ask to talk to whoever's in charge of the hosting account, so that we can set up a line of communication with them, let them know that we're involved with the project, give them an idea of the kind of things that we'll be looking at in our initial audit, and be available, make ourselves available to talk to them on a technical level about what we think needs to be done at the server level or in the hosting account level or whatever it is, to improve site crawlability, performance issues, security, and things like that. The administration team, the technical services team, often have their own priorities, and they're not really thinking about search engine optimization and marketing. That's the marketing team's area. And even in small companies, you might have like the owner, the business decision maker, and the marketing person who wears all the marketing hats. And then you have the server guy who's doing the development on the website. Probably 70% of his time is allocated to cutting PHP code or working on integrating their database into whatever e-commerce module they're using or whatever it is. But usually the knowledge is broken up among at least 3 key areas in the company. So you've got the technical services, you've got the marketing, and then you've got the business goals, decision, whatever. And you're lucky if you can get all 3 of those into the same conversation where they all understand, each other's priorities and express empathy for each other's priorities. It's a tough nut to manage. And of course, in practice, we get through the introductions, and then we tend to talk with the marketing person, and then we tell the marketing person somewhere down the road, okay, this is the technical stuff that we need. We need to connect with the technical people, and they'll see that they'll figure out when the technical people can talk to us. So it is a complicated thing, which probably a lot of SEOs, especially junior SEOs and independent consultants, don't really manage well for lack of experience or expertise. I mean, why would you want to volunteer yourself to go in and tweak a server if you don't know how to tweak a server, right? But those are becoming more and more important. Over the past year, or I'm going to say 18 months. Over the past 18 months, we've seen increasing emphasis from Google and Bing, and a little bit from Yahoo on server performance, page speed performance, and on mobile applicability issues. I don't want to just say, mobile-friendly website design. There's more to it than that. And also security. As more companies become ingrained in that we need an HTTPS website configuration mode, the SEO kind of has to participate in that process too, because a lot of things can go wrong and do go wrong. And so technical SEO has really become more of an important issue than it was, say, 2 years ago for a majority of the people who are doing this kind of work. And we just try to get it on the table from the beginning.
Well, and I get that, piece, and it's often simpler. Even some of the issues that we see popping up, just minor updates to pages. People go in and think, oh well, why don't I just say this? And there's actually was reading a blog by another SEO recently, and he said that someone had had one of his clients had attended a SEO conference, and one of the speakers had said, oh, H1s aren't important. So he took all the H1s off the site, and the site immediately tanked.
Yeah, because he heard it at a conference.
Yes, and so they fixed that. They put all the H1s back in place, and sure enough, the site continued to perform as it had before. And so it's that kind of hey, following the lemmings off the cliff in some cases, that really really sort of is a head scratcher, because they clearly did not consult the guy who had led their original SEO optimization. So but it's really nice to do tests like that to see what works and what doesn't. And so unfortunately clients do that and end up sort of feeling the pain because there was real revenue lost as a result of that.
Yeah,
right?
I bet.
So and we're talking high volume sites, right? So what you don't want to do is anything radical like that, even if it made sense to make a modification if you thought that it would be not hurt your site and possibly improve it. It's always a better choice to take a handful of pages, do a test, and see if if this new concept that somebody's pitching is in fact the case. And in this case, it was clearly not true. So
yeah, we do talk to clients about running limited experiments like that. One of the big challenges that we run into with a few clients every year is those e-commerce platforms are not very flexible. And so you might propose doing an experiment, and it's either they can't make the change at all, or they have to make the change to the entire site rather than to just a portion of the site. It's great when you're working with someone who knows the e-commerce platform inside out and he goes, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. But quite often we run into the limitation that the client won't run an experiment because it's such a massive change that they're afraid they're going to lose a lot of stuff. So we tend to propose a smorgasbord of options. It's for us, it's a negotiation process. Here's what we think would help. What can you do on the basis of this list? And then once we have worked down to what both sides think can be done, then we figure out how to make it happen. But yeah, I've worked with some people who have turned everything off and not been happy with the results. And every time somebody comes to me and says, well, I attended a conference and they said that you could do this. It's like, do you have the same software that they were using? If you don't, you're probably going to have different results. So conference case studies can be informative. I don't want to take too much away from them, but they are very destructive in the sense that often they are encapsulated in a one solution fits all presentation, which may not be the presenter's fault. You've done conference presentations. You're given a certain amount of time. Do it in 10 slides, or you have to fill out 50 slides or whatever. But it's not always the presenter's fault. They have a format that they have to conform to, and people are sitting up there in the audience and going, "Wow, this really worked for them like magic. We should take it back to our company and do it." And you're talking apples and oranges. Been there, yeah.
Yeah, but it gets real exciting. I had an experience where somebody was changing domains, and it was a very high volume site, and I was very clear about making sure that there were no follow, no index tags on the site that you push live, because they did have them on the one on the staging server, and sure enough, they didn't take those off, and surprise, surprise, within a week, everything that had gotten crawled and indexed disappeared. much to the chagrin of the CMO. So stuff like that does happen, right?
It does. Yeah, staging servers are the rogue dogs of SEO. They're not an evil. They are necessary, but once they get off the leash, they run amok and destroy everything. So
yeah, it can be most concerning, and I would recommend that anybody who's even contemplating the idea of changing their domains or moving to a subdomain or something like that, please consult a
someone who's been there a few times.
An SEO that has had lots of experience with domain shifts and things like that, because it is dicey at best, and in some cases it shows great promise if done properly. So I did want to cover link building and the nature of link analysis too, because I think was it this week they were talking about Panda and Penguin being integrated into the main Google algorithm.
Well, they say that Panda is in the core algorithm, except for all the manual updates. That's what they came out with in the last article I read. Penguin is still not baked into anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that was all over the past week.
Well, I think is it possible that Penguin's probably not integrated because Penguin is it's using a different set of crawl analysis. I mean, I don't think it's using the same set of results, right? It's using only backlinks and then some judgment call around those backlinks.
Are you asking me to speculate or to say yay or nay on what you just said?
Well, I think everything we talk about with regard to Google, we have to speculate unless we have a very clear sort of.
Well, you're the one who has worked for a search engine. I am the one who has worked, in the SERPs. Well, you've worked in the SERPs too. I just mean I don't have the insights that you do. I mean, what you said sounds plausible to me.
It just seems like they're potentially dealing with a completely different set of data, and how that all plays together. How they reference that data together and mash it, and create an actual search result.
If it's not obvious to people by now, I think they bit off more than they can chew, to be honest.
Well, so let's talk about biting off stuff, right? So have you looked at the mobile search results now? I was just looking at them the other day. I was having a drink with somebody who's in the paid search industry yesterday, and he was showing me a page from. So he typed in to Google Ford Fusion, right? The entire basically everything above the fold was ads. So I think it's going to become increasingly more difficult to rank on mobile devices, because basically the ads have taken over the top 80% of the page that's visible. Oh, I can't see what. Yes. So that's an ad. And I don't think you see very much anything organic until you're well down the page.
Well, you don't. But as someone who runs mobile searches many times a day, I tend to just ignore the ads and scroll down. Mobile's funny. We don't know enough about it to talk knowledgeably about it. I mean, when I say we, I mean the whole industry. Everybody from the big companies on down to little guys like you and me. As a user, I know what I do. As someone who has looked at study groups and studies of focus groups and things like that, I know that what I do is not always what everybody else does. So I try to temper what my experience is with what other people might be doing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of crap in these search results. It's not really useful stuff. I don't know of anybody that actually buys cars off their mobile phone. I might know a few multimillionaires that could do it, but I don't think they do it that way. So I don't know why Google thinks this is useful information. Although every now and then, my wife and I, we're driving down the road, we see a car and we go, "What kind of car is that?" What do? We pick up a phone and we do a search on that car. And so maybe Google's seen a lot of search behavior, and they're thinking, well, this is relevant to the searches. As a marketer, I don't want to click on those ads because I don't want to charge other marketers money, for something that's not going to be a conversion. I know a lot of people in our industry are they feel strongly about that. So it's funny you bring that up because I made a comment in the newsletter today. I forget what I was quoting. I'm not going to go look for it, but I know the point I was trying to make was the way I've come around to look at mobile is we're using it mostly for informational queries. We're still using the desktop for doing tasks such as buying things. I know a lot of people are buying stuff with their mobile phones, but I think mobile payment systems make up a lot of that. And so I think you have to take all the mobile data hype with a few grains of salt. People haven't quite sorted through all that yet. I don't think they've really have prioritized the purchasing channels the way they should be for mobile. It's very different from the desktop.
Well, and I think it's starting to vary based on demographic. I think there are use cases where we have to look at, from a demographic standpoint, what is the usage rate for, let's see, 18 to 29 versus 30 to 39.
Yeah, because those age groups are going to do things differently. We already know that.
Well, and the amount of time they spend on mobile devices is different as well. I mean, it's by virtue of just some cases overuse, but so I think it's interesting that I struggle a little bit because I feel like the trend is, and I think the trend is true on desktop, mobile, and tablet, is that all the search engines would like it to be a game of pay to play. Now, I don't think the users want that, but I know the search engines would like that because, after all, right, they would be able to monetize everything on the page.
Well, I would put it a little bit differently. I would say the search engines want maximum monetization from the page, but not necessarily to monetize everything on the page. I think if you went to Google and if you could go to Google and Bing and you could say, look, here's the perfect ad. Just put one of these on every page. You'll make more money per page than the way you're doing it now. I think they do it in a heartbeat. Because all they have to do is answer to their investors and to their users. That's all they have to do.
That's all.
Two entirely different worlds, right? So the perfect union of those worlds is one ad that monetizes better than everything they're doing now, and then everybody's happy, right? We'll get ads that we want to click on that don't obscure everything else that we want. The advertisers will have an easier time of figuring out what it is they should design ads for, and the investors will see the balance sheets improve, and that's pure fantasy. But I think that there are a lot of marketers, all different parts of the spectrum, who say what you just said. The search engines keep throwing more ads on the page. That's what it's all about. Yeah, they have to answer to investors. They have to make money. And I think everybody groks that. We live it, but as searchers, we hate it, and we try to find ways to live with it and get around it. It's not an easy. There's no easy, simple compromise yet, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think mobile is going to monetize in the long run the way that a lot of people are hoping it's going to monetize. When I'm in a big retail store like Target or Walmart or grocery store or something, and if I can get a Wi-Fi connection, which you can't always do inside those stores, I use my phones to search their inventories to see if they have what I want. But I make my purchases at the cash register, and I see other people doing the same thing. I'm not going to stand inside the store and make a purchase on my mobile phone. It doesn't make sense yet. Okay, yet I'm going to leave a little fudge room there. Somebody might figure out how to do that, but right now it's too clunky. The mobile phone is not a task completion interface, and it's a very it allows you to complete a very narrow spectrum of tasks, mostly informational.
And I would challenge that just a little bit in that often when I'm in someplace like a Best Buy, I do see people doing searches and price comparisons for technology items, and in some cases they actually, if they're Prime customers, for instance, I've seen them, purchase something that they found and were able to touch in Best Buy, but actually purchase it on Amazon. So
well, touche.
but I think it's a demographic thing, and I think it has very much to do with what the item is. I mean, if I can save 20% and it doesn't cost me shipping, and the only thing I have to do is wait an extra day or two, I know what I'm getting. I can see it in front of me. I can touch it. I can feel it, but I know I can get it for 20% less.
We've been doing more buying online with local retailers lately because you can pick up in the store now. When I say local retailers, I'm talking about Target and Walmart and guys like that. But local companies, they're soon going to have more options available to them. They won't have to do their own apps. I forget the name of it, but in last week's newsletter, I mentioned an app that's going to go global. It's in Ireland right now. I don't know if you recall what I'm talking about, but you'll be able to search inventories. Once they get enough companies signed up, you'll be able to go down to your local mall, search your local small store inventories all around you and find out what you want and go there and buy it, or I guess purchase online. But we do need as consumers to get to the point where we can find out what's around us and maybe make those purchases. Because if what you want to buy is a 15-minute drive away and you're not sure it's going to be there, it's better to pay for it online and then drive over there and pick it up than it is to get an idea that it's over there, drive over there and hope that nobody else has scarfed it up or something like that. Of course, that will also call for execution from the retailers. They'll have to protect the inventory that they've sold online from being picked up inside the store. We're a long way from that kind of a buy and sell market. But I think that's where we're trying to go with the mobile stuff. Mm-hmm. And for now, we have diverse experiences like mine versus yours. I'm closer to the East Coast. You're on the West Coast. You're actually in Silicon Valley, so I would expect more of that kind of avant-garde use of mobile phones where you are. Although I am in one of the older technology areas. I'm in the Atlanta area. That used to be a real big technology. It really is. It's still a technology city. It's just not one of the big innovative areas anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we've beaten that one to death.
Well, and we got a little off topic. I was just trying to evaluate tools because I use a bunch of third-party tools for capturing data, and one of the sort of head scratchers is link data, and it doesn't matter what link tool that you use to analyze a client or a client's competitors. It's always going to be different than what Google says, right? So if you look at Google Webmaster Tools, it'll talk about completely different link data, and there's no way to get those two to correlate. A little frustrating.
Very frustrating. Yeah. We do link research for our clients, mostly when we audit. We've done some outreach campaigns. I hate doing link outreach, but trying to find where the links are coming from is a constant challenge, especially when you have access to that Google data and you're just seeing something completely different from what the SEO tools are showing you. You got to ask yourself, why is Google not showing me even some of these links? What is the reason? we try not to assume that those are bad links. And we also, Google's not going to show you everything it knows. We've got websites that we've just started that might have 10 links pointing to them in Google in the search console, and we know that they have more links pointing to them because we've seen the referrals or whatever. And so it's kind of frustrating to build up that link data over time, which you don't have when you first take on a client, and they either want you to do research for new links, or they want to know if their links are good or bad. You need to know about as many links as you can find. There are some tools out there to try to aggregate all this stuff, and the big I have two problems with SEO tools. One, of course, is my constant peeve that too many of them don't honor robots.txt. Now, of course, you want to know about all the links out there, but you don't have an inherent right to trample all over someone's server, and all those fetch requests tie up server resources and take websites down, and that's not right. But the other peeve is that these tools are trying to improve themselves by adding filters, trying to make guesses at what are bad links, and they make very bad guesses at what are bad links.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
There's nobody in the industry, none of us, who can look at any one link and tell us if it's going to be considered a bad link by Google or not. There's no way that we can do that. And the case studies that I've seen where people explain the kind of links that they disallow or disavow are just atrocious. If it's not like their grandmother's best friend's sister's cousin's website, someone that they feel they can vet, they think it's a bad link, which is stupid. I mean, there's no other way to put it. There's a lot of stupidity going on in link research. Marie Haynes, who has been building a business and a reputation for fixing Penguin downgraded sites, has accumulated a huge inventory of websites that people built for linking, and she's given people access to that inventory through a tool she created, or she did last year. I don't know if it's still online. She also showed me some of the websites that she was marking as bad, and they were clearly made for link building. They were like one-page websites on Weebly. Not that everything on Weebly is bad, but a one-page website on any of the free blogging services where they don't put anything into the site design, and the keywords are the anchor text, and the only links on the page are pointing to one specific website. That's obviously a made for linking resource, cheaply done. Everybody, I think, can pretty much agree on those websites. The question is, why are a lot of people knocking down all the other websites that are much more well made? We have a blogging platform that we allow friends and stuff to write blogs on. And a couple of years ago, I was contacted by an SEO, I think in England or someplace, who asked me to take a link off of one of the blogs. And I went and I looked at the link, and it was to some coffee company or something. And I said, why do you want to remove this link? Because it's, it was part of an article that was talking about all these different vendors and stuff. And she goes, well, I'm doing link cleanup for my client, and I want that link removed. I said, well, before I contact the blogger, can you show me that they sold the link? Or, there was some relationship?
Mm-hmm.
And her response was, well, if you don't remove the link, I'm just going to disavow it, and Google will hate you for that. I don't want to. So that was just one of a few experiences that I've had with people who don't know what they're doing. And just because you don't know why a link is on a website doesn't mean it's a bad link or a bad website. Just because you think the website is ugly doesn't mean it's a spammy website. Not everybody designs beautiful websites. And what a lot of people think are beautiful websites, other people think are ugly. So the subjectiveness of everything really makes it a huge problem for us to share values and resources. And that's why I don't like the SEO tools that are trying to filter out spammy links or grade links on the basis of riskiness or whatever, because they're just doing it wrong. And I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. And they'll never get it right? Because you can't be in the mind of Google, right?
No.
So we have reached the end of our 30 minutes.
Yes, we have. So
Was there anything you wanted to cover before we close?
No, I'm good. This will be a good one. So I guess we'll just I'll get it up. I have not had much time for editing videos lately. I know the first ones had lots of annotations and stuff, and now people are just lucky if I get them up online. That's the way it goes. So, at any rate, thanks for keeping me on schedule here,
My pleasure.
and I hope we can do this again next week. We really would like to do this every week, folks. I'm not real fond of Google's video system, but I don't want to invest time and money in something better. And I know Kent's very busy, and he's like me. He doesn't want to invest time and money in something better either. Not right now. So we'll talk to y'all later.
Great. Bye.
Bye.